What is going on, everyone? It is College Football Talk. I am your host, Hunter DeLauder, and today is Week 4 preview. And as always, dive into all the biggest games of the weekend and give my thoughts and predictions. But before we get started today, just wanted to take a quick shout out and say thank you to everyone that chose to subscribe and support the podcast. We reached the 100 subscriber mark yesterday. I believe we're sitting at now 105 subscribers. So really appreciate the support, guys, and helping to grow the podcast to what it is now and what it will be continuing to be in the future. So keep doing that. If you're new around here, welcome aboard. You do not want to miss anything. So make sure you're hitting that subscribe button to stay alert, to know when new episodes are dropping, because we're dropping twice a week, every week here during college football season. So do not want to miss anything. And if you're listening on Spotify, hit that follow button there as well. And keep saying, and if you want to follow me on social media, you'll see right there, or as it comes back around on Twitter, at DeLauder Hunter, or X as some people call it. And then on Instagram, Hunter.DeLauder83. Got a lot of good games to talk about today. We've got Oklahoma, Tennessee. We have USC, Michigan. Got Nebraska, Illinois. And we have Utah, Oklahoma State. We'll bounce around the country as well. Do a quick little overview of all the other games going on. Not necessarily the biggest games, but also just some intriguing games that to keep an eye on as you're scrolling around watching football Saturday. And then we got some best bets to hand out. Had a rough week last week, but looking to bounce back this week and think we have some good ones for you. So we'll hop right into it. But again, make sure you guys are subscribing to the podcast. Keep growing this channel to where we know we can get to, which is to the moon. All right, bounce. I'll turn that off, and we will get right into it. We're going to bounce around here today. Reverse order. We usually start with the early games, kick to the night games. Today, as I can't speak, we're going to start with the primetime games and work our way backwards. So, number 15, Oklahoma welcomes the number 6 Tennessee Volunteers to the Palace on the Prairie, as Oklahoma will have its first SEC game as they open conference play. Both teams do, but a lot of big storylines in this game. On a Oklahoma side, you're looking to prove that you belong in the conference, and what better way to do that than to welcome in one of the SEC's biggest brands, and right now one of the more high-octane, powerful teams in the country. And boy, if you can pull off an upset Saturday against Tennessee, you will not be doubted by many anymore. And then, as well, I think also staying on Oklahoma, can they somehow slow down Tennessee's high-powered offense and score points on this Tennessee defense that is one of the best in the country so far this season? As far as Tennessee goes, you have kind of bouncing off of what I was talking about, Oklahoma. Can you just kind of keep going? Can Rocky Top keep rolling? Will Oklahoma stand in their way? Oklahoma struggles throwing the football. Will Tennessee just be able to put points up and then just kind of blank Oklahoma how they did with NC State? Josh Heupel returns to Oklahoma. First time back in Norman since he was fired as the offense coordinator in 2014. He also played there as a quarterback in the late 90s, early 2000s. So it's a homecoming game for him. He would love nothing more than to just go in there and get a big-time win. You can see Tennessee is a 7-point favorite as of right now. I just put in those lines. That is according to Hard Rock Bet, and over under 57. So we'll bounce right in here into the game. So a couple of big questions with this game. First one is for me, can OU keep up offensively? They struggle to stay consistent scoring points. They score about 34 a game, but there have been times where they just go these long periods where they can't score. They have trouble doing it, moving the football, or they need their defense to kind of bail them out. The Houston game, week 2, they barely beat a really bad Houston team, 16-12, and they needed a safety late to do that. Tulane, they did score points, but Jackson Arnold threw a pick 6 in that game. So they have to stay consistent scoring points. And are they going to be able to throw the ball? They rank 114th in passing offense. That is just not going to get it done. If you want to have any shot of beating Tennessee, you're going to have to be able to throw the football. They have been banged up offensively. on the line as far as missing a few guys in the receiver spot. They're hoping they get some people back. I know they're hoping they get a couple guys back on the line. There's Nick Anderson, I know, is another guy that's still recovering from the receiver room, but they're hopeful he can kind of maybe give it a go. But if not, it's going to have to fall back on Deion Burks and Bauer Sharp, who's the tight end. Those two guys are the only two receivers in Oklahoma has that have double-digit receptions. So there's not a lot of productivity coming from the pass catchers. They're going to have to find a way to run the football. I think time of possession and keeping Tennessee's offense on the sideline is going to have to be another big thing that Oklahoma's going to have to figure out to do. Jackson Arnold, the quarterback, is the leading rusher for Tennessee. Not good. That can't ever be the case for any team that wants to have success. Can't have your quarterback being the leading rusher. That means A, he's running the football too much, and then B, he's also going to be susceptible to injuries down the road because he's chooses not to slide and try to run one over, and he hurts his shoulder, and now he's out for the next few weeks, and then your season kind of goes off the rails. So that means Javonte Barnes is going to have to step up. He only has 31 carries for 126 yards this year. So he's going to have to be more productivity. All these position players in these skill position spots, they're going to have to step up because Tennessee's defense, like I said in the opener right there, they are one of the best in the country. They rank 6th in passing defense. They rank 4th in rushing defense. They're giving up just over 100 yards a game in the air and 55 on the ground. So they are not letting teams do whatever they want. Granted, competition hasn't been the best that Tennessee's played to this point, but still, you're taking care of business and you're dominating. They beat Kent State last week 71-0. So, anytime, you can put 70 up and pitch a shutout against anyone. That's kudos. I'll give you a golf clap right there. Tennessee's defense is going to be able to make plays in this game. They have linebackers, defensive linemen that are really fast, defensive backs that are really good. The secondary, though, is the one question mark. As good as they are, and they are pretty good. You saw them against NC State. They forced a few turnovers. They were all over, including a pick six. They haven't been tested yet. And now you go on the road in a true road environment. Are you going to be able to hold up? And especially as inconsistent as passing game that Oklahoma has, they will take their chances. And can Jackson Arnold and Deion Burks be able to kind of find some sort of connection and find maybe a weakness in that secondary? I think it's going to have to depend on if they want to. They're going to have to be able to hold up on the O-line because if they're going in banged up like they have been last few weeks, that Tennessee defensive line will wreak havoc, and they're just not going to have any time to do any of that stuff they want to do. So I'm curious to see how they approach that. I think it's still early to tell because there's still a couple linemen that are questionable entering Saturday's game. So if they can get them back and to give just an extra support on that line, that'll be big time. I know there's been a few guys they've been waiting to see if they can kind of push them to this game because they kind of were just able to kind of get through the first 3 weeks. And now it's here. And so we'll see if they can give it a go. As far as Tennessee goes, are they going to be able to run wild again like they have been? They rank 3rd in the country in rushing yards. Dylan Sampson ranks top 10 in rushing yards plus rushing touchdowns. So they've found great success doing that. They rush for over 330 yards a game. It's only behind, I think, UCF and Army. Could be wrong on that one. I got to double check. But Dylan Sampson has 9 touchdowns, just under 400 yards rushing, and he's averaging almost 8 yards a carry. So he's having great success running the football. And the OU run D is middle of the package. Actually, that was their pass defense. Run D is pretty good, 22nd against in the land, 77 yards a game they're giving up, but they haven't faced a running attack like this. Between Imaliava running, you have Sampson, you have some other guys too. Like they will be able to put pressure on this OU defense. And if Tennessee has success early doing that, they're going to be able to create shots down the field like they have been. You're playing right into what Tennessee wants to do. Tennessee is, yes, they will spread you out, go up tempo on you, but they want to run the ball. the core of everything. Like that is the first and foremost thing they want to do is run the football. They want to be balanced. They want to run the football, play good defense, and set it up for deep shots down the field. Well, that's why they're so good so far this season. They've been able to have such great success because they're running the football. And when you're running the football, you're taking all that load and that stress or pressure that Imaliava might have, you're taking it off of him because now he doesn't have to do a whole lot because all he's doing is making the throws that are there because they're going to be open because now guys are playing the run, which is going to leave room on the back end for those deep shots and those intermediate throws as well. I mean, you've got a four-headed monster with Dante Thorson, Brew McCoy, Squirrel White, Chris Brazel. So, like, you have guys. So, they're going to be able to get their shots. I think, though, if anything that gets to them, it might be that O-line for Tennessee. They are a good O-line, but I don't know if they've seen a defensive line like Oklahoma has. And Oklahoma has a pretty athletic and pretty stout defensive line. Dominic Williams is up there. They have some other guys too, but like they're going to be able to get pressure. And if they can get pressure, make things uncomfortable for Imaliava, that could be where Oklahoma has a chance in this game. They are middle of the pack, like I said, in pass defense, but they do create turnovers. They're tied for first in the nation in turnovers forced with 10. So they do force turnovers. And if they can force turnovers and get Tennessee off schedule, that will be big time to staying in this game because then you're playing field position. You're eating in time of possession as well, and you're controlling the ball. So if you can do all that, that's going to be massive. Whether or not they do it is to be determined. As far as predictions go, I think Tennessee is going to be able to win this game. I think Tennessee, while yes, it is a true road environment, I think they're built a little bit better, at least on paper, and what I've seen on the field. Just more consistency, more explosivity, and I just think that Oklahoma's injuries on the O-line and just lack of playmaker production on the outside is really going to hurt them in this game. And that's why I just see Tennessee just kind of coming in. It might be close early, but I just think they're going to be able to score points whenever they want to. And I just don't know if Oklahoma's going to have the answers to counter that each and every time. So I like Tennessee to win. I think they're going to cover. 34-21 is my prediction there. All right, moving on. We're going to go to Oklahoma State, staying in the state of Oklahoma. Oklahoma State host Utah. This is a top 15 showdown. Note number 12, Utes of Utah will head down to Stillwater, take on Ollie Gordon and Alan Bowman, the number 14 Oklahoma State Cowboys. Oklahoma State is a -2.5, over under 52.5. Combined age between the two quarterbacks in this game, Cam Rising and Alan Bowman, is 49 years old. The average age for the Colts-Bears game Sunday between Anthony Richardson and Caleb Williams, 44. So you have some veteran quarterbacks, to say the least, both of them in their seventh and final year, although I believe Rising has an extra year if he wanted to. How? I'm not sure. I don't think he's going to be using it. So for now, it's the seventh and final year for these two. Big thing for me, though, Oklahoma State. Can they get Ollie Gordon going? On paper, Utah State controls most of the main stat lines. And that's not to be surprised. Like, Utah is always a fast, physical group. Like Kyle Whittingham always has his guys ready to roll. But for some reason, Ollie Gordon has just struggled getting going this season. He struggled a little bit last year as far as production-wise because they weren't feeding him the ball as much. But, like, he came back, like, preseason All-American, like, Heisman dark horse. Like, he's supposed to be one of the best running backs in the country, and he hasn't lived up to the hype yet. He only has 62 carries, 216 yards. He's only averaging 3.5 yards a carry through 3 games. And that Utah defense only gives up about 93.5 yards on the ground. They're ranked 31st. So it's a spot where if there's any vulnerability, Oklahoma State could take advantage of that. And it's so strange that they haven't because of how experienced that O-line is. There's no injuries that I know of that have been plaguing them. So, like, they're just not getting the production that they've used to getting from that running back spot So maybe they can take advantage of that there. They're going to have to run the ball because you cannot get into a throwing contest against that Utah secondary. Utah secondary ranks third in the country, 93 yards a game. So if you do that and they're just not being able to run the football at all, and it's Alan Bowman versus that secondary, I'm going to lean that secondary to take advantage and force some turnovers. If they can run the ball effectively, then you're going to be able to do whatever you want because Bowman's been playing a lot better as of late. Last two games, Alan Bowman, 51 to 79, a 64.6 completion percentage, has just over 700 yards thrown, 6 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. So he's playing a lot better. He played a lot better in that second half against Arkansas when they needed him to step up. Yes, Arkansas lost that game more than they Oklahoma State didn't really, as smart, win that game as more Arkansas lost that game, but Oklahoma State was able to capitalize on turnovers, score when they need to, and Bowman was a big reason why. So can he continue to play well? And can he somehow crack this Utah secondary to that this point is just been a stout front, stout secondary that just does whatever they want, that kind of control the game. And as far as Utah goes, are they going to have success running the football? Because Utah ranks 49th in the country with just over 175 yards a game. Micah Bernard, can he get going some? He has had a pretty good year to this point, but can he take that next step here? And I think he might be able to because Oklahoma State got shredded week 2 against Arkansas. They gave it to over 230 yards in that game. They ranked 92nd against the run. And if you go back and watch that game, there was this holes as wide as the Mississippi Delta. Just massive wide gaps, just that were, and there was not a defender in sight within about 5 to 10 yards. So there's going to be room to take advantage of for sure. You question a little bit with Utah's defense. There's going to be spots where Oklahoma State is just going to be vulnerable, and can Utah take advantage of it? The pass game has to take advantage of a bad secondary. And it's so weird that Oklahoma State has been poor on defense because typically they're not too bad on defense. Like they're historically like a pretty, at least middle of the pack front. They have been very subpar to this point. They rank 128th against the pass. So there, again, we talked about the run game, taking advantage of that. There will be times where they will be able to take shots against this Oklahoma secondary. Traylon Green, Arkansas, we keep going back to the Arkansas game. Well, Arkansas had over 640 yards of total offense. Traylon Green was able to do whatever he wanted to against that defense. And if Cam Rising plays and if he is fully healthy, there's been questions throughout the week. He missed last week, remember? So if he can come back and play as good as he can, there will be times where they will be able to score points. I think points are going to be not at a premium here. I think they're going to be able to score points on both sides. Utah is going to have to use those big 4 receivers they have, and Deshaun Stanley, Brent Keefe, Money Parks, and Dorian Singer. Like, they have weapons. Will they be able to take advantage of those weaknesses in the secondary? Special little fun fact there. Combine those 4 receivers, 31 catches, 7 touchdowns, and over 539 yards. So very productive. Talk about Oklahoma not having production. Utah has production, and that was with a backup quarterback last week. So there will be times I feel like this game might lean one way or another. I think it's going to be a back and forth affair all day long. I think Ollie Gordon's going to be able to get going some. And if he doesn't, well, if Utah's going to win. But I do think Oklahoma State will have success running the football. And Alan Bowman, if he keeps the turnovers down, and he has been playing well enough where he has not been turning the football over, they will win this game. I like Oklahoma State to win 37-34. I think the winner of this game has the inside track to the Big 12 title game. I think one of these teams will be representing the Big 12 and the Big 12 title game as one of the 2 teams. I could easily see a rematch down the road if everything kind of shakes out. It's still too early to tell in the Big 12 because the Big 12 will become a cannibal site where everyone just eats each other, and there's really nothing left except for 2 teams. So which 2 teams is still to be determined, but I do think the winner of this game has the clear inside track to making a run and getting to Dallas to play in the Big 12 title game. But I like Oklahoma State. That means they would cover two based off my score prediction, 37-34. All right, moving on. Number 11, USC heads to the Big House as they have also a startup conference play in a new conference. Big 10 play against the number 18 Michigan Wolverines. USC is a 5-point favorite entering Saturday's contest on 3:30. I believe that's on CBS. 44.5 is the over-under. Biggest question for me is, can USC take a page out of the Texas playbook and run the ball effectively, going more that outside zone scheme more, and then instead of running it up the middle, if they can do that, and Woody Marks, I think he's shifty and elusive enough to do that, they will have success and win this game. They're going to do exactly what Texas did and wear down those two big boys up front and Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham. That's what Texas did. And whenever they got subbed out, that's when they beat them up the middle. And I watched that LSU USC game week 1, and I saw USC defense, our offensive line was able to have success running the football. And if they could run the football against Michigan, then they're for real. You know, you could have your questions with LSU's defensive line. You saw South Carolina and do whatever they want with them on the ground. But if you can have success against Michigan, then like I just said, like we can have a conversation here. But I think it's important what Texas did. They were able to just go sideline to sideline and do whatever they want running the football. And they were just able to wear those boys out. And then again, that's when they would strike up the middle and get another 5, 6, 7 yards of carry, because Michigan worn down depth wise, just not there. And at some point, you know, you're just not going to have, you know, the same, you know, production from that defensive line. Will Michigan be able to make USC one-dimensional offensively? They might have to. I think secondary's got to play a lot better for Michigan. They let Texas do whatever they want. And if you let Miller Moss just kind of hang around with those receivers of his, they will take advantage of that. And again, Michigan will lose the game. They're going to have to somehow find a way to limit McCree, Kyron Hudson, Zachariah Branch, top 3 guys for USC and pass catchers. Will they, though? That will be a big question, because it all stems back to, I guess, running the football. Because if they're able to run the football, then you're all over the place, because you can't stop the run, and then he's going to start beating you over the top. And Miller Moss is one of the more accurate quarterbacks in the country. So I think I'm able to contain Miller Moss too, because he can use his legs as well when he needs to. And again, that's another variable that gets thrown into this. Michigan's pass defense ranks 90th in the country. So there are weaknesses. Like, this is not the same team we saw last year, even with Will Johnson back this year. Like, they are not the same team. They got pushed around in the Texas game, and I could see a spot where USC can do the same thing here. I think Michigan's got to be able to not turn the football over. They turn the ball over way too much. You have a new quarterback starting, Alex Orji's getting his first start because of how poorly Davis Warren's been playing. So can he just not make the big turnover, make the big mistake? Can he play a mistake-free game and just find a way to beat this USC defense? USC's defense play a lot better. And I think if you're Michigan, you got to be able to run the football. They have had trouble running the football to this point. They have a two-headed system going on in the backfield with Khalil Mullings and Donovan Edwards. Believe it or not, Mullings is the leading carrier for Michigan. And it's crazy because of how much Edwards got hyped up in the offseason as going to be like the guy. And he has not been that guy to this point. I'm still waiting on him to wake up some. He only has 150 yards in total in 3 games. He's averaging under 5 yards a carry, where Mullings is averaging 7.5 yards a carry. So he's been the better back. Well, USC's rush defense, 34th in the country. Don't look now. They're only giving up about 100 yards a game. So they are controlling the line of scrimmage. And that's where I was thoroughly impressed week 1 when they played LSU, how well they were able to control that run game for LSU with how good that offensive line is for the Tigers. So if they can able to shut down Michigan's like bread and butter. Michigan doesn't have any guys on the outside that can step up. Loveland's been battling an injury. He got banged up a little bit last week. So, like, where are they going to go to? And so I'm just worried Michigan doesn't have enough people to make plays. And if USC just gets out in front early and say they go up 14 to 14-3, we'll say, or like even like 10-0, is Michigan going to have an answer? I mean, we haven't seen that to this point. I mean, they were struggling to put away Arkansas State, Fresno State too. I mean, they have struggled in these games so far, and this is against lesser competition. You saw what happened when they played Texas. They got ran out of their own building. Are they going to happen to get run out of the same building twice? I don't think. I got to double check. But if I'm correct, they haven't lost back or multiple home games, I believe, since 2020. Because 21 they went to the playoff. So that's big because, again, you haven't lost more than one home game in almost 4 years now. I just think that Michigan's offensive lackluster production is catching up to them. This is not the same team. Michigan, I think we just have to come to an overall agreement that they're just not very good this year. It's not their fault. I think it's just that a combination of losing so many guys to the NFL. You lose your head coach. You have to replace everybody. New O-line, new quarterback, new running backs. Even though Edwards is there's just nobody to step up in the pass game. And I'm just worried about that defense getting worn out again, how Texas was able to. And if USC has any sort of luck running the football, this game's going to be over real soon. I mean, because then USC is going to be able to control the clock, put just enough points up. They don't only have to put up that many points. And Michigan's going to struggle to score points. And if they're struggling to score points, it's probably because they can't move the ball because there's no production going on, or they're turning the football over. They've had way too many turnovers this year. And this is a USC defense. Even last year, how bad they were very good at picking the ball off. If you can get Michigan into a throw-first type of offense, I think you're in really good shape. And that all stems back to stopping the run. So I like USC to win this game. I think 26-20 is the final. I think they're going to be able to score enough points. Michigan might have some success, I think, running the football some, but I just think USC is going to be able to shut them down enough and wear out that defensive line where they're not going to be able to get pressure on Miller Moss, and Miller Moss is going to be able to take advantage of that, find those weaknesses in the secondary, and that's secondary. And they're going to score enough points, and USC is going to come out with a massive win at Michigan. 26-20 is the final. Again, that's another covering number right there. I didn't even know the number until about 5 minutes before I recorded. So USC is going to win, and we're going to move on. All right, final game here of the headliner. So this one actually comes on Friday night. So believe it or not, who would have thought that Illinois and Nebraska would be ranked when they play each other week 4? I didn't, but if you do, I guess raise your hand and give you a pat on the back, because I don't think anyone saw this coming. But Nebraska, don't look now, but if they, again, that road to 7-0, the hype train has left the station already. Left a few weeks ago, but they're still chugging along. Now you got Illinois. So this is Illinois' first game on the road. This is Nebraska's final game at home before they go on the road. I think they have Purdue next. Could be wrong there, but don't think I am. Can Nebraska have the same success running the football that they have been lately? And are they going to be able to stop the run? That's a big thing for me. Nebraska run defense, 16th in the country, where Illinois has the 59th ranked. So Nebraska's been able to stop the run, and Illinois had some success, but I mean, there will be opportunities for Nebraska to take advantage of that. But I mean, they're middle of the pack, but I am worried about Illinois' production. Are they going to get enough? Luke Altmaier's been able to play good football. Hasn't thrown a pick yet this season. They already beat Kansas this year. But I'm just worried going on the road like this at night at Nebraska. Dylan Raiola has been playing really good football to this point. Will Nebraska be able to score points like they did against Colorado? Now, granted, there was a pick six thrown in that, but other than that, like they still scored 21 points off of them. Will Illinois be able to keep up, quiet the crowd? If they can, now you got yourself a ball game here. Nebraska beat Illinois last year. I think if you're Illinois, you got to find a way to make this game sloppy. Gonna have to force some turnovers. They are fifth in the country in turnovers gained, so they have a way of forcing quarterbacks in that offense to cough up the ball, pick one off, and then all of a sudden Illinois has good field possession and they're scoring off of it. They have 6 interceptions forced. Raiola has not turned the ball over, or he's only turned the ball over once this year. Can Illinois get enough pressure, kind of like with Oklahoma? Are they going to be able to get enough pressure to maybe make him uncomfortable, make him make a bad decision? He is only a freshman. We haven't seen him make the bad decision yet. Can Illinois be that team that makes him uncomfortable, makes him throw one? It's like, why'd you do that? It's like, I thought there was somebody there, and then all of a sudden he wasn't. Illinois is going to play man-to-man a lot of times, so it's going to be your guy on my guy. Which guy comes out on top is going to be the big question. But like I said, I just worry that Nebraska's going to be able to put up enough. Nebraska's going to be able to put enough points up where Illinois is not going to have an answer. And then they can kind of just slow down and run the ball, eat the clock, and play a clean game. That's how I see this game going. 27-17, I think Nebraska wins. I think maybe it's close. They force a turnover too, but Illinois just doesn't have the firepower for me. So Nebraska keeps on chugging along. Get to Ohio State week 8, week 9, 7-0. Here we go. All right, I'm gonna move to around the country now, where we're just they're not headlining games, but they're big enough games to me that they're worth noting. Give a quick thought or two about it and move on. We got a bunch here, so we're going to get right through them all. You need to take one more sip here. Ooh, ice cold. All right, we'll start at the top here. So viewer discretion is advised for this one. Ideally, you need you to be about 18 years old to watch. It's not a horror movie. It's nothing bad. It's UF, or the Fighting Florida Gators are on the road to Starkville, Mississippi, as both teams come in on whatever's left with them. They'll come in the first game of the Toilet Bowl, as they come in 1-2, both coming off terrible losses. And, for Florida, you have the whole coaching debacle. You can't decide who's playing at quarterback. You can't stop anyone defensively. You can't score on anyone offensively. Mississippi State, you're just, the new coach, new quarterback, still trying to figure things out there. I mean, defense got lit up like a firecracker last week against Toledo. Toledo was able to walk in and score 41 on Mississippi State. So can the Cowbells become effective enough to maybe rattle the Gators? UF, I believe, is a 6-point favorite, although I want to see, somebody said it got shot down to 4. I'm going to check real quick because I have the thing open. Let's see here. Let's see. That game is in the 2 o'clocks. 12. Oh, here we go. No, it's still at 6. So Florida's a 6-point favorite. How? I don't know. I thought that line would be more of a pick 'em. I think Florida's going to be able to win this, but again, they weren't able to run the ball against the 109th ranked defense against the run in A&M, and Mississippi State ranks 133rd against the run. So if they can't run the ball against Mississippi State, then I really don't know. Could it mean that losing Trevor Etienne in the portal was a bigger move than what people anticipated it? Could be, but they've got to be able to run the football. And if they don't, then they're not going to have success. But that game's going to be gross, and I'll be all for it. I do think Florida will get back in the win column, though. All right, UCLA heads to LSU. LSU trying to build off of last week's big-time comeback win. And now they get UCLA coming cross-country to the Bayou. I almost said the swamp. To the Bayou. It's a 3:30 game on ESPN. I expect UCLA to struggle in this one. I think LSU is going to be able to dominate. I think Nussmeier's going to have a great game. and I expect LSU, honestly, to smooth sailing through this one. Georgia Tech's at Louisville. Louisville's first test here. Louisville, a dark horse team in the ACC. This should be a physical game, but I do think the Cardinals are going to come out and win this one. Arkansas is at Auburn. This is like a loser. This one, fan base is not going to like you. You have Auburn, who starting in Hank Brown made his first career start last week. He's a freshman. Now he's starting again this week, and Auburn has this game and then one more of Oklahoma next week, I believe, at home still before they head to Athens. Their first road game. They have played home games all to this point, which is pretty crazy on the scheduling side. But here they go. They got another one. They got to be able to win this one. But if you're Arkansas, I mean, can Bobby Petrino keep this offense humming? I mean, Traylon Green's been able to play well. I think they're going to be able to have to run the football some with Jarquez Jackson. So will they be able to is the good question. Is Auburn going to be able to contain Green, who wants to run the ball out using his legs a lot? That's going to be determined. I think Sam Pittman's also got to be able to win this game. He's already on thin ice enough. They let that Oklahoma State game slip out from underneath them because they lost that game. The Oklahoma State did not win that game. That was a game Arkansas lost between mistakes, turning the football over, and just self-inflicted wounds all around. They blew that game. So now you get another crack. You're on the road against a true freshman quarterback. So will they be able to win? That's to be determined. I want to lean Auburn on this one. I just think home field advantage is going to be enough to kind of become that extra element to why they won that game. Vanderbilt's at Mizzou. This be a bigger game if Vanderbilt was still undefeated, but they pooped their pants last weekend against Georgia State. So Mizzou's going to roll, I think, against the Commodores. TCU at SMU. This is the Iron Skillet game. These two teams in the Dallas-Fort Worth area do not like each other. But SMU has been struggling to this point, and I think TCU, how they blew the game last week against UCF, they blew a 28-7 lead late in the second half, is to be determined. But I think they're going to be able to bounce back in this one. They're going to be able to put up points, and I just don't think SMU has enough offensive firepower like they have. At least we thought they would coming into the season. They just haven't shown it to this point, and I just don't see it again this Saturday. Miami at USF, a sneaky, sneaky good game here, I think. 7:30 ESPN. Miami comes in as 17.5-point favorites against the Bulls. South Florida gave Alabama a fight for their life for about 3.5 quarters. Bama was able to slip ahead late, but if USF can make this thing into the fourth quarter, I think you're dealing with a different animal here. They're going to have to be able to contain Cam Ward and make things sloppy. Kind of like how Illinois with Nebraska. They're going to have to force turnovers. They're going to have to get pressure. And if they can, and they can give Miami fits on the running the ball, Byron Brown's going to be able to have to make some throws, though, because there will be opportunities there. He missed them against Bama. Can he connect now against Miami? I think you're going to have a good crowd. I think USF already has a record sale of student tickets being sold for this one. So expect the Bulls and the Tampa faithful to be out. I expect a lot of Miami fans there as well, but this could be a sneaky close game, I think. I think if you're just kind of lulling through, let's say, the Tennessee-Oklahoma game, and you just kind of look and you see, wait a minute, or 10 minutes to go in the fourth, and it's a 21-17 game? What's going on? Let me turn the channel here. Like, that could be the game right there. So I think Florida, how bad they were, didn't maybe show. Let me retrace that. USF, I think, is going to be able to play Miami a lot better than what Florida did. Let my brain get ahead of me a lot of times here. But you're going to see a South Florida team that's ready to roll, unlike how Florida was. Florida was unprepared when they played Miami, which is insane. You have all offseason, you're playing them at home. But I think South Florida is going to be ready to roll. I think Golich is a dude and future coach for some higher up jobs maybe down the road. But he's got those boys rolling. And I expect a really good game there. All right. Cal is at FSU. Not much to know about this one. I think Cal might win this game outright. If they do, they might just shut down the football season. If they haven't already. Florida State just looking for a win at this point. They can't do anything offensively. They ranked 130. They rank 132nd again running the football. Well, if I told you that before the end of last year, when they were on cloud nine, undefeated season, but I was like, hey, next year though, you're gonna rank second to last in running the football. Toafili back there? Yeah, no, not gonna get it done. Self-inflicted wounds, can't run the ball, pass catchers can't catch the ball, quarterback's too inconsistent and doesn't do anything with it except check it down. It's a whole mess. They're averaging only 12 points a game this year. They averaged 37 points last year. They can't do anything. And defensively, they did play a little better last week. They have to be better at creating pressure and stopping the run. They have been bludgeoned by that all year to this point. And if Cal can get it going this week, look out. FSU is a 2.5-point favorite, though, in that game. I want to say FSU gets this done, but I don't know. I mean, Cal went to Auburn and won, so I might take Cal, actually. Baylor's at Colorado. This is like a toss-up game. I think Baylor is a 1.5-point dog in this game. I mean, we'll see if Colorado can kind of build off of last week's performance. It wasn't the highest scoring game. They won 28-9, but the defense held Colorado State under 10 points. I think the defense has played a lot better at this point this season. Now we'll see what they do now. Again, another one of these teams that's opening up conference play for the first time in a new conference. Will Baylor maybe be able to out physical Colorado? Can they get pressure on Shedeur Sanders? And that's going to be the key because Shedeur Sanders is their offense. They don't run the football. So if they can stop the run or stop the pass and just get pressure on and make things uncomfortable, Baylor will win this game. The game is in Colorado. I'm not really sure what to make of it. I'm going to take Colorado, though, but I would stay way away from this game as far as you can if you're looking to bet on it. Purdue's at Oregon State. Both teams coming off blowout losses, but Purdue having to go cross-country after getting their tails whipped 66-7 against Notre Dame at home, nonetheless. Now you got to go cross-country to Corvallis. I like Oregon State in this game. I think they're going to be able to bounce back. I think last week was just the wrong spot to be in. You have an Oregon team that came in struggling against all the Idaho teams, and now they're looking for a get-right game. They do it that week. I think Oregon State's going to be able to bounce back in a big way. I think they're going to be able to take care of Purdue. Purdue is just not good. They struggle mightily defensively, which is crazy because Ryan Walters, how well he has been historically as a DC and a defensive-minded guy. They struggle stopping anyone. Hudson Card's just not the guy, it seems, at quarterback. So it's tough going for Purdue for sure. Kansas State at BYU. It's a 10:30 kick. Kansas State heading out to Provo, take on the Cougars. And the Cougars of BYU, don't look now, but they have been playing some pretty good football as of late. And I like BYU a lot here to cover the number. They're at 6.5. Late kick at your home field. You've already gone to SMU and won on the road. You played all these other teams really tight. Don't look now. Don't look now. That could be a game at 1 a.m. when it finishes and be like, Kansas State won, but man, they squeaked out of there just by the hair of their chinny chin chins. Like, they're lucky to get a win there. So those are the round of the country games that I'm looking forward to. There's some other ones. West Virginia's Kansas are playing. But all the other games are kind of cupcakes. All right. Final segment here tonight. Best bets. Like I said, last week was a pathetic, awful week. But you know why? I don't know. I don't have an answer. Don't have an excuse either. You just got to be better. But we will be better. We're going to bounce back this week. Really like the plays this week. And hopefully we make some money. BYU plus 6.5. Like I said, late kick. You get Kansas State to go on the road, up in those high altitude games. Never know with those ones. And I just think BYU's been playing good enough football as of late. They're going to be able to cover that number. Oregon State already said, like, Purdue's coming in, getting their asses kicked last week at home. Now they got to go cross country to Corvallis. It's It's a bad spot. Give me the Beavers all the way. God, I cannot speak today, and it is driving me crazy. Anyway, TCU -3. I kind of said just about a couple minutes ago when I was talking about this. SMU's a lack of production to score points. Mix that in with TCU scoring points, but now you coming off a game that you should have won, and you let it slip by blowing 3 touchdown lead is just it's not good. If you're SMU, you're gonna get a pissed off or TCU team coming in, and it's a rivalry game. Top it all off with that. So I like the Horned Frogs to get a big win here. And then Ole Miss is playing Georgia State, 35-point favorites. They haven't allowed a touchdown yet, and they're scoring a lot of points. So I expect another big win at home as the preseason wraps up for teams like Ole Miss and Ohio State. I would say Texas, but they went to Michigan. But outside of that, I mean, Quinn Ewers is starting, by the way. Forgot to mention that. Not Quinn Ewers isn't starting. Arch Manning will be getting the start this weekend against UL Monroe. But back to my preseason rant. How did they get away with this is the great question. I mean, Ohio State's playing Marshall this weekend. What are you doing? I mean, they have a joke of a start of the year schedule. So does Ole Miss. Ole Miss has played Furman. They played Georgia State. They played Wake Forest. I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing? Got to get better on that. I mean, they'll play some tough games later on in the back end of the year, but still, it's not even the worst schedule in the world. But yeah, give me the Rebels here, -35. I think they'll be able to score points, and that defense is going to be able to just shut down anything Georgia State wants to do. So there's the plays for the weekend. We're going to bounce back in a big way. As far as today's episode goes, that's all for me. Like I said, make sure you guys are subscribing to the podcast. We want to continue to grow the channel. Next goal now is 200. We got to get to 200 now. We're already at 105. Let's keep on moving up here. I know there's people out there that are watching for the first time, coming back, that aren't subscribed. Make sure you are subscribed to the podcast. Just hit that subscribe button. Nothing else you have to do. You just hit that button, give a big thumbs up, and then your work here is done. That is all you have to do. And if you're listening on Spotify, make sure you're hitting that follow button there as well with a big thumbs up there. And if you're looking for me on social media, at DeLauder Hunter on Twitter, Instagram, Hunter.DeLauder83. And a side note, check out my newest published article on WRUF.com. Giving my insight on the Tennessee-Oklahoma game. Make sure you guys give that a read. WRUF.com. Scroll down to the college football section. You'll see it. Give it a read. I think it's a good one. Spent a couple hours doing that this morning. So make sure you guys do that. But enjoy this weekend's action. Back Sunday night, Monday for the recap episode. And then before you know it, we'll be getting right into previews for week 5. But we got week 4 to focus on. Enjoy it. I'm going to enjoy it. Let's have a great Saturday. Enjoy. This is Hunter DeLauder for College Football Talk. Peace out.